What is up, everybody? How we doing? How we feeling? Welcome to another episode of the Final Vibe Podcast. My name is Kevin Reap, and alongside me is my co-host, Andrew White. Andrew, are you ready for episode 21?
I thought I was ready for episode 21, but I just don't know anymore.
You just don't know anymore. I like that answer.
I don't know, but I do know that there's a cute girl sitting across the table from me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about her? You should do the introduction for this
You
one.
know, here's what I know. I know that I'm married to her, and I like her a lot.
Let me finish the intro. We'll keep it legit.
Sure.
Final Vibe is all about your pursuit of legacy, and this podcast explores all aspects of life and legacy through discussions with all walks of life. And tonight, I should say, we are thrilled to welcome to the Final Vibe studio, Alexa White. Alexa, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. It's a late night episode. It's Wednesday night. It's like after 8 o'clock.
8:47 p.m.
This is the latest we've recorded. Final Vibe After Dark.
That's right.
How we feeling? You excited?
I'm a night owl, so I feel great.
You feel great?
Yeah.
Good. Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
So let's just jump right into it. You are currently the VP of Client Strategy at Adigy,
Correct.
a Golden Girl alum.
Yes.
What else do we need to know about you? What does VP of Client Strategy mean?
Yeah. So I'll be really transparent here and say that titles don't mean much at our company. It's a really, really small company, which I love. But basically, VP of Client Strategy, I work a lot with clients who are coming to Adigy, which is a content marketing agency, to either help with their PR goals or SEO, which stands for Search Engine Optimization. And basically, in non-fancy terms, that means we're helping clients show up on Google for keywords that they want to be showing up for. So
if I had like a company that sold cherry pies, you could help me rank for the word cherry pie on Google?
Yeah.
Sweet.
In some sense, yes.
Good. It's good to know that I know exactly what you do.
Yeah,
Right.
that's good.
Or Final Vibe wanted to show up for Legacy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You could help us with that.
We would try our best.
Okay,
Yeah, we would do our best to set you up for success. Yes.
I like that. Okay. So then I don't know. I think I mentioned this, but you are also married to Andrew.
I am. Yeah. This good-looking guy across from me. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Stop it.
So there's a lot to talk about here, and I think we should start with you personally.
Okay.
I think you have an interesting background. You've done some amazing things. I think a lot of our listeners are in Columbia, Missouri. And to hear Golden Girl alum, obviously we've had Kayla Timberlake, the Golden Girls head coach, on the show a few months ago. But it will be interesting to pick your brain a little bit about what that entails as well. So how important is dancing to you in your life? And has that had an impact to get you where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. So dance has been a part of my life probably before I was even born. Well, it was before I was even born. But to explain that a little bit better, my grandma was really into dancing, and she danced on a TV show with Sammy Davis Jr. and owned her own dance studio in Mexico, Missouri. And my mom grew up dancing at that studio. And then, so dancing was pretty much in my blood. I started dancing at the age of 2, officially. I was probably dancing before that, before they actually put me in classes. But pretty much since I could walk, I was dancing. And it's actually interesting. I've been going through all of my old dance videos recently. It's been super fun. I know Andrew's really been enjoying that.
It's been fine. I like watching them. I don't watch all of them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of them.
You get the highlights.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But I mean, it's crazy. The dance world, I mean, I won't go too deep into it, but I probably have hundreds of dances that I've done through the years. And it's just really cool, I guess, to look back on that. But yeah, so dance has been a huge part of my life, and it was really special to share that with my grandma and my mom. They were both at every single competition, including my dad and grandpa, but obviously it meant more to us as women because we were the dancers of the family. But yeah, so the tradition kind of lived on, and then my mom and dad both went to Mizzou, so that had its own legacy or tradition in our family to attend the University of Missouri. And when I was really little, I remember watching the Golden Girls, and I turned to my mom and I said, I want to be that. I want to be those girls down there. I always knew I was going to be going to Mizzou, and I always knew I was going to try out to be a Golden Girl. And I remember when I was trying out, I was like, oh gosh, this is it. I always just said, oh, I'm going to be a Golden Girl at the University of Missouri. But then senior year, I'm trying out, and I'm thinking, what if I don't make it? This has been my whole life's dream. And I made it, which was super exciting. And yeah, getting to live that tradition on the field was, I have no words, honestly, looking back.
I can't imagine what it's like to be on the field during a game.
It's crazy. I mean, my favorite part of being a Golden Girl was the pregame show because all of it was built in tradition. And Golden Girls 50 years ago, maybe didn't do the same dances, but they were dancing to the same songs and they were performing with marching Mizzou, just like we were. And I think Kayla even talked about this on her podcast, but when those drums hit, that first second pregame starts, there's no better feeling.
So when you say that you were a dancer,
Yes.
I know what that means because we're married. But I don't think a lot of people will realize how much of a part of your life it was. So give people like maybe a more specific rundown of the commitment, the practices, the competitions, because it's really impressive. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was all consuming. And talk about the pros and cons of that, because I know a lot of it was good and you love dance, but maybe there are some things that you missed out on because of it. So talk to us about that.
Definitely. So I think I can't speak to the money aspect of it. My parents obviously paid for that, and it's an expensive hobby. I know that much. But so we'll kind of talk in the sense of when I was older with the commitment, what that looked like. So as a competitive dancer, so that means I was on a competition team, I would train about, I think, 3 to 4 days a week. And then every Saturday, without fail, every Saturday, we had rehearsals for probably like 6 hours. And you would run all of your dances every Saturday. So that looked different for each dancer. And I think pretty much going into the competition season, each dancer chooses how many dances they want to be in that year. And I think the most I was ever in was probably like 10 to 12. So you learn that many dances at the beginning of the season, which is pretty much over the summer. You learn the dances. You spend August through December perfecting them. And then competition season starts in early January. And then you compete. It's your competition season. You probably attend maybe 6, 7 competitions throughout the year. And then you have nationals in the summer. And then you start it all over again. So there's no off season with dance. But yes, so competitions are a full weekend. Sometimes when I was competing solos, which means I'm the only one on the stage performing, you would start even on Thursday night. So you would have solos on Thursday night, maybe duets and trios, so 2 performers, 3 performers on Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday would be all of your group numbers. So you're there all weekend. Your family's there with you all weekend. You take up everyone's time, and I took this for granted when I was going through it. It wasn't until, I mean, probably now that I'm like, man, I really dominated my parents' lives as they were driving me to all of my classes and competitions and hanging around. So did that answer your question?
I was looking for no right or wrong answer.
I guess, did that make sense to you?
It did, 100%.
No, I just wanted to highlight that, for example, like some people have hobbies growing up, they play the piano or whatever, but it's not like their thing. And dance was very much your thing.
Yeah, it's an investment.
Yeah, and you put everything into it. And on the topic of legacy, jumping into a serious question right away, whenever you were done with like formal institutionalized dance, do you feel like that was a bit of a shot to your identity? And how did you respond to not having dance in your life anymore?
Well, I think when I was graduating college, I was kind of ready to be done. I was ready to be done kind of with the world of dance. So I didn't actually ever answer your question about the cons of it. And there are a lot of cons in the dance world. So I'll answer that question first and then get into your legacy question. But so the dance world, a lot of things have to do with image. So a lot of girls deal with self-esteem issues and confidence issues, body image issues, all of the above. And then not to mention your skill level. So I just mentioned that I've been going through my old dance videos, and there's a season in my life when I was in middle school and I was dancing at a studio that played favorites. I'll just be transparent. And I mean, it really, really hurt my self-esteem big time. And I had to grow from that when I transferred back to my original studio that I was at and finally believe like, okay, I'm actually a good dancer. They just didn't highlight me, or I wasn't considered a favorite. So I think that's one of the bigger cons. And obviously with the time investment, you're missing out on hangouts with friends that you have from high school, middle school, etc. That is a sacrifice. I think coming out of Golden Girls, I had been in that world for a long time, and I was ready to focus on my career and kind of say, I was like, I'm ready for the next thing. But dance was my identity growing up. Like people say, oh, what do you do? What are your hobbies? It was always, I'm a dancer. And then when I couldn't say that anymore and I didn't have opportunities at my fingertips to just go and take dance classes, I struggled a lot. And I think even, Andrew, you could probably talk to this. It was hard for me to be excited and super, I don't want to say not supportive because I obviously support your success, but it was kind of hard for me to be left at home, not able to pursue my passions and enjoy a hobby when you were continuously doing it. And I couldn't figure out how to break that barrier and go do something that I enjoy too. But just recently I bought a subscription to an online dance studio so that I could start taking online classes. And that's been really, really awesome.
What does an online dance studio look like?
Yeah. So there are actually a lot of big name choreographers that will just come on and they'll teach a class. They'll teach what we call a combo, which is short for combination, which is probably a minute to a minute and a half dance, I guess, that you learn. So they videotape it, you learn it, they walk you through it, and then they'll play the music and you kind of do the routine.
Are you like in your living room?
So I've actually been using Wilson's on Forum. They have a group fitness room, and I just make sure that they don't have any classes going on, and I'll go in there and close all the doors.
Nice. That's
Just
cool.
hope no one walks in.
No, I'm actually really proud of you for doing that because the reality of the dance world is that there's no NFL
Right.
for
I was
dance.
just going to ask that if it was.
I mean, so there kind of is, right? So you can become like there's like the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and all that. But maybe this is worth you telling us before I say what I'm going to say. What is life like in the pros? Because you have friends who are dancing. Is that like a full-time job? Are those girls making big money? Are they working side jobs? What's the reality of a dancer?
Yeah. So I don't know the full details. I know that most girls that I know of that are dancing professionally, in terms of for professional football teams, they have second jobs. And so it's not enough money, I'm assuming, to make a living off of it. But also that's fun dancing. It is to be able to dance for a team, but you're not doing the intense technical training that most dancers did growing up. And I really like to be challenged in my dancing, and there's no harm, or this isn't at the fault of the Golden Girls, but a lot of what we did was the palm sidelines kind of stuff, which is great. But I missed the competitive, intense, technical dancing that I grew up doing. And the Golden Girls did offer a competition team, and I did that my freshman and sophomore year. And I think I just kind of hit a burnt out period where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I feel like a lot of dancers get to that point at some point in their dancing career. It might be in high school. Mine was in college. But if I could go back, I'd probably do competition through my senior year just because I miss it so much now. But so that's what a professional in terms of dancing for a football team would look like. I think you have practice 1 or 2 days a week, and then you have your games on Sundays or Mondays or whenever it's falling. The other option for dancers who really want to make it big is to go to LA or New York. For me personally, that was never my dream. I didn't want to go and live the risky dance life in LA where you're constantly auditioning and constantly being rejected. And I really admire the dancers that can go out there and do that. Probably some of my self-esteem issues that came from my studio life played into me not wanting to go out there and be constantly rejected. But yeah, so that wasn't really in my dream board. It was Golden Girls for me, and then I always figured I'd just go on and do my career. But I didn't really realize how much I would miss dancing and how much I would miss being able to say I'm a dancer.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely easier said than done when you've poured your heart and soul into something and all of a sudden it's over. I think a lot of athletes deal with that. You know what I mean? Like they've been athletes their whole life, and then all of a sudden high school's over or college is over, and then what? You know, you're just another guy, I guess, with maybe a little bit more muscle than a normal guy. But where I was going with that is I wanted to sing your praises in that, this is a legacy podcast. So we want to talk about legacy and how to live a meaningful life within a great legacy. And you could have easily just hung up the dance shoes forever. But I could tell that you were not the same person after dance was gone. And there was a hole in your life and you didn't really have a passion for a while. You didn't have a hobby. And that was hard for me to see because I know you loved it so much. But even though you don't have a great situation now, you made the most of it and you decided to get online, take classes online, which is different. You know, it's not, I mean, is it the same as being in a room? It's not, you're shaking your head no.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And it's not, and also like we didn't have a space and we'd have a lot of conversations like, well, there's no real space and the classes here in town don't challenge me. And I'm not saying you were making excuses, but there were a lot of good reasons that you could have just punted the dance thing. And so you made it happen, and that's cool.
Well, and I think too, being a perfectionist, being out of it for so long, I had a really big hang up where I was like, I'm scared of getting back into it because I don't want to see how bad I actually am now.
Sure.
And you were with me that first time I went and just started playing around in that room, and I got almost emotional.
No, you did. You were kind of teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't do the same things you used to be able to.
Right. Yeah. That was hard.
Is it coming back? Does that come back like?
Yeah. So I've been sharing with Andrew a lot of my progress, which has been exciting, but a lot of my flexibility kind of lost it. And I've been excited to get it back, what we call turns or pirouettes. I was never a strong turner, but I have been able to get some of that skill back too. Yeah, it's just been cool to take some classes. I think the part that I am missing is a lot of our technical training as a competitive dancer is technique class. And so you're taking ballet, tap wasn't my favorite, but you're taking tap, and you're forced to take these classes for good reason because they help your technique and your skill level. And we would have a full hour to an hour and a half of just technical training where you would have a teacher saying, you're not preparing for this correctly, you're not using your core, you're not high enough on your releve. And being a perfectionist, dance is cool because you can strive for perfection. I miss that part of being a technical dancer. I keep repeating that word, but I feel like there's not a better way to say it. So I think once COVID is gone, if it's ever gone, I'm really hoping that there's some way I can start getting in front of teachers again in some capacity. I'm not sure what that looks like. I'm really going to have to do my research to see if I can actually be challenged in that way again. That's probably my next step.
Do you record yourself now when you do these classes? So you set up a camera, or is it live?
Yeah, so I'll set up a camera, or Andrew's usually working out at the gym while I'm dancing, which works out well because he'll come in and videotape me, which is cool too because he can watch me.
Yeah.
He wasn't, I guess, around for my competitive dance years, so it's kind of fun for him to be able to see the stuff that I used to be able to do.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool. It's just cool seeing you be passionate about something like that. It's cool. Yeah. It's exciting. It's like one thing that I took away from your podcast with Jacqueline, Kevin, is she said this really cool line, and I think we actually named the podcast after it. It was like, her dreams become your dreams and your dreams become her dreams. And I think dance is cool anyway, but the fact that you love it makes me love it, and I want to see you succeed in it. You know what I mean? So I'm like rooting for you, and it's cool to be your cheerleader.
Yeah.
Dance reference?
That's a great reference.
Yeah, thank you.
I had the honor of being at your wedding, and there was some pretty intense dance there.
Oh, yeah, that's
Very
right.
famous picture that came from that.
Yeah.
What was that process like, Andrew, to learn how to do even that one move that I don't think I would... I don't know the amount of time it would take for me to feel comfortable doing what you did, and what is it called as well?
So just in case everyone listening wasn't at our wedding, what you're talking about is Alexa. You had the idea of us doing the final dance scene from Dirty Dancing
I think it was both of
when-
our ideas.
Was it? Okay. I just assumed it was yours because dance.
I don't know. I feel like we were watching Dirty Dancing one night when we
And
were
we were
still
like,
dating.
let's do it.
And we were like, man, what if we did a dance at our wedding?
Yeah, it would be cool. So it's the famous
Probably
scene.
my
It's the
idea.
famous scene when they do the big lift and Swayze throws Jennifer Grey up into the air, and it's cool. You know, it's kind of what people
It's just
remember.
a big moment.
It's a big moment in the movie. Yeah, it's at the end, and everything's rebellious and awesome.
And the crowd went crazy.
Crowd goes nuts. Yeah. So we had this idea, like, well, can we pull it off? And dude, I'm not a dancer, right? Like, so I think I have decent footwork in terms of just like being an athlete, and I'm a fairly coordinated dude, but that doesn't mean you're good at dancing.
No, probably not.
So I did my best. I learned the dance over months, and you and I always talk about this, but it's like, how do you remember all the steps in a row?
Yeah, I don't.
You know what I mean?
understand it.
Like
I
the
will
like.
never understand it.
But you
like-
did it.
I did it. It was really tough. I think the only time that I actually nailed the entire routine was on our wedding day.
It's all that matters.
I swear that whenever I was giving my vows, I was thinking, I'm going to drop her. I'm going to drop her. I'm going to drop her. And I actually started having fun at my wedding after the dance.
Oh, yeah.
And we pulled it
man.
off, and like, and it was we have a great still shot of it. The photographer did an awesome job.
Yeah. The lift
but yeah.
wasn't solid, but the photo makes it look solid.
Yeah,
For
the
sure.
photo kills it. Yeah. And it was good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give me some slack. I'm just a guy.
Maybe that
Well,
should
I
be the
wasn't
photo
saying
for the-
anything against you, but that
was
also
fun.
wasn't my typical style of dance either. So it was new for me to learn.
Dirty dancing.
Well, ballroom dancing.
I
I guess.
carried- I carried a watermelon.
I carried a watermelon.
No, it was a great movie. It was a great movie.
It is a good.
What
movie.
happens next for you in dance? I know that you said post COVID you would love to get into a studio. I mean, do you have any dreams of
Owning a studio?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm really not fishing for anything. Is dance going to be a continued legacy for sure?
I hope so. So I mentioned earlier that my grandma owned a studio in Mexico, Missouri, and her studio is named Shirley's Dance Studio, which makes sense. Her name is Shirley. So one of the things that I've thought about with dance is it might be a possibility sometime in the future. I'm not exactly sure, so don't make this an accountability thing for me. It's just maybe a feeler out there.
We're just dreaming.
We're just dreaming. That if I were to open my own dance studio as a part of my legacy, it would be Shirley's Dance Studio. That's what I would name it.
Very cool.
I
A
love
legacy of
That's so
Shirley
cool.
may live on one day.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not.
I hope it stays in the family, and God willing, if we have kids and
Little
we have
nugget.
and we have a daughter. I mean, I won't force dance on her, but it'd be really hard for me to.
But she'll be at
believe.
every Mizzou game, and
I'll
will
force
see-
dance on her.
She'll see the Golden
If
Girls.
she
do the same
doesn't,
thing.
or if we don't, my mom probably will. Got Grandma Jill rooting for another dancer in the family. But anyways, I would love to see dance continue and the family. But for me personally, I know my mom has regrets of not continuing with dance outside of college. And so, I mean, the cool thing about my grandma, sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but the cool thing about my grandma, she danced into her 70s. And she was known as the person dancing on tables at weddings. So maybe that will be me. Who knows?
I like that idea. That's awesome.
That'll be my legacy. And carry that on from Grandma Shirley.
Is there video of her dancing with Sammy Davis Jr.?
Probably, maybe. I don't know. Maybe somewhere. I haven't seen it.
Okay, I was just curious because that's an awesome fun fact.
Yeah. Yeah. She
Well,
was
and
she was awesome.
She was awesome. And while we're talking about it, more legacy stuff. Your grandma was an extremely special person.
She was.
Will you talk about her and what you adored most about her, and specifically just how supportive she was and your grandpa all
Yeah.
those years?
Yeah. I'm sorry if I get emotional, but my grandma was very, very special to me in my life. And she was very, very involved in my life, which I'm just so grateful for. And I think it's something I definitely took for granted when I was younger. Looking back, there were times where they would show up to things, and they were also that supportive of my brother too. They went to all of his soccer games, and we just kind of expected that they would be there. And a lot of people don't have that in their lives. But yeah, for them to show up, I think is the biggest thing. To have that support system, to have bonus parents, almost, just so invested and so like they were our cheerleaders. They were. And even my grandpa too. My grandpa didn't grow up in the dance world, but as soon as he married my grandma, he was like, okay, well, I'm in this now. And she taught dance classes, ballroom dance classes, and she made him be her partner. So he had to learn how to do all of that stuff and teach it with her. And they would show up to dance competitions before my family even would be there, like before me. And they would sit in the audience, and my grandma would have her little book out the program of all the dances, and she would take notes, and she would mark what score she would give the dances and like play judge, which is just the cutest thing ever. And and she would sit through all of the award ceremonies and all of that stuff. But yeah, they were there. That's huge. And they cared. I think that's probably maybe the bigger things about her that I adored. Also, her laugh. She had this awesome cackle.
Yeah. Well, it just
That's
makes me
right.
wonder how important it is in life to have somebody rooting for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's so many people who struggle with only having one parent for whatever reason, or being abandoned by a family member, and the fact that you were able to grow up in an environment when your grandma was and your grandpa were there every single time. I mean, I've even heard stories of like your grandpa showing up to your brother's like soccer practices, and people being like, who's that older guy?
Yeah, and he wouldn't sit in the bleachers like a normal person. He'd go and stand by the goal.
Yeah. And it's
Ooh,
like,
nice. He wanted action.
oh
yeah.
yeah, one in the front row seat.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think about that as a person. It's like, am I being that supportive person to anybody in my life? Or am I just so caught up in my own endeavors that I'm just, spending every hour on the next project or Final Vibe or Ivory or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, it was like when we were talking to Gma Jan, her grandfather, the fried egg sandwich,
Yeah.
that we just keep hearing all these stories about people who did such simple things, and they won't be remembered for any grandiose achievement. It'll just be the little tiny moments of being present. And I was writing this down. I think maybe the greatest gift your grandma ever gave you was that they were present.
Yeah.
And,
I wrote down, bonus parents was a cool phrase. That you
bonus
said.
parents. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure.
and I know my dad talked a lot about, and hopefully this is okay for me to share, but his dad, I don't think was at a lot of his stuff. My dad was one of 7. So by the time that he came out, he was number 6. They were probably like, all right, I've done this,
He'll figure it out.
He'll figure it out. So yeah, the fact that I had a mom and a dad, a grandma and a grandpa without fail at every single competition. And it's not like these are just, once a month kind of things. They were consistent. And then also even traveling to national competitions was huge. It was huge. And I can only really appreciate that now, knowing that there were a lot of girls that sometimes they couldn't even get their moms there. And they're usually the ones at backstage helping us get ready and changing our costumes for us. And so the fact that I had that support system really, really means a lot. And I know my brother probably hated me for it a lot. But
Well, you were the only girl, so
yeah,
you may have gotten a little bit spoiled at times.
maybe.
Okay, let's shift gears to marriage. Can we do that?
I'm here for it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So how long have you guys been married?
2 years.
Well, 2 years and a week.
Ooh, we're close.
Oh, yeah.
2 years, 2 weeks, actually.
What are you going to do for 2 years? Anything fun? I guess it's like a COVID anniversary. So
Yeah.
what takeout are you going to get?
Well, we went to Colorado. Yeah, we
Yeah.
took a trip to
That's true.
Colorado,
Yeah.
and we did the whole adventure vacation, which my wife was very out of her comfort zone. But you were a champ, so good job.
Yeah, I grew up doing only beach vacations with my family. So I really love the beach vacations.
Mhm.
Just show up and sit on a beach and veg. And Andrew really likes the adventure vacations. So his birthday is actually the day before our anniversary. And so this year was his 30th birthday. So I was like, we should probably do something that's more fun for him.
And where did you guys go specifically?
Colorado Springs, yeah.
Yeah.
And the photos were beautiful. It looked like an amazing place. I've never been.
Oh yeah, no, we got a lot of cool photos. Repped a lot of Final Vibe gear.
Yeah,
The hat looks really good on camera.
it sure does.
So no, it's cool.
Yeah, it was
It was
cool.
really
That was
cool.
my first time in Colorado. So I really liked being there and seeing all the colors. I mean, the fall colors were beautiful. I highly recommend going in the fall.
All right. Well, I'll make
But
it
that's the
happen
only
next
time
year.
I've ever been there. So it's probably beautiful other times of the
Yeah,
year
probably.
too.
Yeah. Colorado's like that. So you guys aren't necessarily newlyweds, but 2 years out, still pretty fresh.
Sure.
Everybody gives you marriage advice.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a piece of marriage advice that you heard and you latched onto and you find yourself 2 years later still thinking about?
Well, for me, I think of two. One was never stop dating, and the other was communication is key, which I feel like is so cliche. I feel like that's the advice that everyone always gives is communication is key. But I mean, I feel like I'm pretty confident in saying any of the arguments that we've had have boiled down to not communicating well. Would you agree?
I would for sure agree. Yeah.
Isn't it annoying when that's the case? Because you know it's the case when it's happening and you're like, dang, gotta write again.
Yeah. I mean, it is cliche, and like I hate cliches in life, but they're usually true, you know? So it's like, even before we got married, it was like, you know, yeah, any advice, you know, how do I do a good job at marriage? And people say, yeah, just gotta communicate, you know, the old crotchety guy, communication's important. And it's like, yeah. What else though? But it's like, no, seriously, like
That's it.
you should like communicate really well. And like, maybe we shouldn't be so vague. I think one thing that I really value in marriage is just being really honest. You know what I mean? And like, do it gently, right? Like, you know, if your honesty is maybe going to be hurtful, be tactful about it, be tasteful, love the other person, be selfless insofar as you can. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes. But I think for a long time, I was kind of in like people pleaser mode in our marriage. And I didn't want to like ask to hang out with a friend. And it was not because of you, but it was just like, I was just kind of suppressing real me a little bit when it's really like, just communicate, you know, just say that you would love to spend time with friends. And is there a way we can make that happen and stuff like that? So you just got to talk.
Well, I think too, for us, we try to talk a lot about being selfless in marriage and, you know, how can we be thinking about the other person's needs above our own? And Andrew, I think that that's like your motto. And sometimes I feel like you don't share what your needs are. And so I don't know how to be selfless for you. And I think that's a really good example about you hanging out with friends, and you were being really selfless for me in that time of our life because we had just moved back here from Memphis and I didn't have the community that you had yet. And so I probably felt really lonely and like I needed to create my own community of friends here. And so anyways, I'm just, I guess, more sharing that you were trying to be selfless in that time, and but also communication. Got to communicate.
Gotta do it.
Need. Yeah.
You got to do it.
When and how did you guys meet?
Oh boy.
This is a good story.
Yikes.
Starts with a
So,
yikes.
yeah. So,
Andrew, you have to tell the story.
yeah, I will keep it as short as I can without sparing any great details. But basically, so I grew up, so we're big Mizzou people, right? We live in Columbia, Missouri. All three of us went to Mizzou. Kevin, we met at Mizzou.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa, your parents went to Mizzou. My mother went to Mizzou.
Brother went to Mizzou.
Your brother went to Mizzou. It's a vibe, right?
His wife went to Mizzou.
His wife went to Mizzou. Missouri people, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I went to my first Mizzou football game when I was like 8 days old. We've had season tickets for my entire life. And I grew up going to football games. I grew up going to basketball games. And basically, you know, whatever year it was, 3 or 4 years ago, I'm not going to lie, I saw a really pretty golden girl on the field. And I was like, my goodness, like, she's drop dead gorgeous. And like, I'm not the guy who just runs after the shiny object, but not to toot your horn, but I just, I couldn't really get you out of my head. And I would look forward to going to the games. And I hate telling the story because it makes me sound like a bit of a weirdo. But I promise it wasn't that weird. It was just kind of having like a crush on that
I like
girl.
this story.
Yeah, it's like kind of having like a crush on the girl that, you know, you'll never probably meet or whatever. But I'm also a bit of a go-getter. So it's like, you know, it's like, well, man, like I just want to meet her. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I'm not a big fan of making judgments on people just based on their appearance. You know what I mean? Like pretty people are a dime a dozen. You know, I thought you were beautiful, but that's all I knew about you. And so basically there was this time, and maybe this is still the case, but Mizzou was putting out this magazine called Mizzou Nation or Zoo Nation. Mm-hmm. And there was a feature on some of the Golden Girls, and you were actually one of them. So I'm like, oh, like sweet, you know, like, and I finally learned something about you, you know, and it was Alexa Carmichael, and she does this. And you mentioned how much you looked up to your parents for their volunteer work in the church and for like, raising you to put God first and things. And I was like, oh, wow, like there's a chance that we have like a similar worldview. And, maybe like I could date this girl. Like maybe I could do it. But I had no idea like how to reach out. There's really no good way to be a total stranger and ask someone out on a date. You know what I mean? I had a good friend at the time who we ate, tie it back to B&B. We go to B&B every Tuesday. And I was like, man, let's just go. And I was like, I just really want to meet her, but I don't know how to do it without looking like a weirdo. And he's like, he didn't say it like this. It was a little more crass, but he's like, why don't you stop being shy? He didn't say that. Why don't you stop being shy and just go for it, man? Like reach out. And I'm like, but how? Like I'm never going to see her. Like if I saw her at the mall or something, I'd probably say hi, but like I won't. And he's like, dude, social media is a thing. Just reach out. So yes, here I am going public. I slid into her DMs.
Wow.
Slid in like the
what
little
platform?
Man, so I chose Instagram.
Okay.
I chose Instagram.
That's a respectable one.
And I was like, man, I don't know what I said. I think the text chain was on our wedding website.
Yeah, it's still out there.
Because it's super funny. But basically, I don't remember. Oh, yeah. So the first time, because it didn't happen right away, right? The first time I was like, hey, are you the girl from the Mizzou Nation feature? And like, obviously I know she is because it's like her name on the page, but it's like, how do you start the convo? And I'm embarrassed. And she's like, haha, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, oh God, like, here we go. And I was like, hey, I think I said something like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something to the extent of, well, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I think you said some really cool things, and I would love to meet you sometime if that's not the weirdest thing in the world. And like, as soon as I said, I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is insane. I'm the worst guy. Like, you were nice or cordial or whatever, and like, it obviously didn't work out, or you were sweet to me, but we just moved on. And I was like, cool, because like, I'm the guy who's like, I'm happy to go for something, and but if it doesn't work out, I'm not gonna force stuff. You know what I mean? I'm a dreamer, but I'm a realist. So it didn't work out, and I moved on, and it was whatever. I met a girl at church who was interning, and just literally because we were like becoming friends or whatever, followed each other on social media, and then I saw in her profile picture Alexa, and I was like, what in the world? Like, why? Oh, no. Like this is all gonna come out that I, asked her out basically on a date, and it didn't work out. And like, long story short, she wound up approaching me and said, hey, did you ever like ask a girl out on Instagram? And I was like in front of people, by the way. It wasn't like a one-on-one thing, which, Marissa, I'm not mad at you, but I felt exposed.
Well, but who is Marissa?
Yeah, so Marissa is your sister-in-law, your brother's now wife.
Right. Yeah.
Girlfriend at the time. And basically, the photo was from a vacation that you guys had taken to Jamaica, and she was Zach's girlfriend back then, blah, blah, blah. And that's why you guys were in the photo together. And she's like, did you ask a girl out on Instagram? And I was like, you know what? I did. I did do that. I felt like an idiot. I probably will never do that again. And she's like, no. Like, she was just getting out of a breakup. Like, you should totally ask her out again. And she'll say yes. Like, I think you're great. Like, she's great. You guys will be a great fit. And I'm like, oh, come on. You don't understand what you're asking me to do. Like, I have pride. You know what I mean? Like,
well, she's going at him saying, ask her out. And then she's coming at me saying, say yes, say yes,
He's
say
gonna
yes.
ask you out, yeah, say
yeah,
yes.
yeah. She's like, well, what's the little missing tidbit is before she approached him about, hey, did you ask a girl out? She sent me his profile. And she was like, this guy works at the church and all the girls want to date him, but you guys would be perfect together. He's so sweet. He's a good Christian guy, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I'm just not really looking for anything right now. But then I looked at the profile. I was like, wait, I think he's messaged me before.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And then
this is all just so embarrassing for me.
I love this. This is great.
That's how that happened.
Anyway, okay. Yeah. So she's like, ask her out again. I'm like, unbelievable. So get this, fellas, listen up. This is how you win the girl. She posted an Instagram story. This is the part that's
embarrassing for me.
No, it's funny. This is the redeeming part for me because I won. Like, I won. Sorry. Like, you're married to me now, so I won. But you posted a picture of Sophia's, which is where you worked at the time.
Yeah.
And this is so funny, but it's okay because it worked out right. But I said, or she was like, here we are again, you know, just at work, whatever,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I responded and I was like, love me a good Sunday night carb up. Something like that.
Carb load.
Carb load. Love a good carb load on a Sunday night. Don't know how it happened. That was the conversation starter. I'm embarrassed. Judge me. Whatever. It worked out. And so we start the conversation, and she's like the worst like responder. She's terrible. Takes forever. I swear it was like
I would give like 2-word responses.
2-word responses, like every 4 hours. It was a joke, right? And like, so I think my magical line was when I asked if you liked wine, because it was like, hey, we should go on a date, or like, you should let me take you out.
Do you like wine?
Do you like wine?
Yeah.
And you actually do a
I
lot.
do. Yeah.
Like in a responsible way.
Right.
I liked it more back then.
Yeah, but you were into wine, and I was like, let's go get wine. And I kind of convinced you, and it
No,
wasn't really working out.
Okay, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like, this girl's dragging me through the coals right now for this date. And so I sent you a picture of Noah from The Notebook hanging from the Ferris wheel. And if you've seen the movie The Notebook, you know that's when he's like, go out with me. Go out with me. And I was like, this is literally me right now. Just do it. Give me
And
one
you sent
date.
the photo.
I sent the photo,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
And this was on our
That's
wedding
respect.
website. And it's just her being like super short. And I'm sure everybody who looked at that interaction was like, man, girl, like helped a guy out a little bit.
Yeah, I think I came off really mean.
No, I'm actually really happy because, to be honest, like, let's be real. It's 2020. Somebody's reaching out to you on social media. I wouldn't have wanted the girl that I would spend forever with to be like, oh yeah, sounds fun. Let's go. You know what I mean?
I'm free in 10 minutes.
You drive a
I'm
white
free
van?
in
Okay, cool. So I think it was appropriate and it was modest, and I like, every guy likes to chase. You know what I mean? So it was fun. It was fun for me. Long story short, it's not been short. Long story long, we went to Les Bourgeois.
Well, wait, it was the Notebook thing that won me.
Yeah.
To be clear,
Sweet.
because I said, "Wow,
Power
I
play.
actually just laughed out loud."
Yeah, that's right. You said
and
it
you
out
were
loud. I was like,
"Well, now you have to go on a date with me."
I cracked the code. Yeah.
Where was the first date, did you say?
Les Bourgeois.
Okay.
So I met her in person the day of our first date. It was kind of a blind date, really.
Yeah,
So I
you
picked
showed
you
up in
up.
good old Sasha.
Yep. My red truck. She probably thought I was a country boy. And yeah, went to Les Bourgeois. She got out of the car. She slipped and fell. And I was like, you good? And it kind of like broke the tension a little bit. And then I couldn't get her to shut up the rest of the night.
It's true.
Oh, that's
And
great.
it was awesome. Yeah. It was fun. And it was very much kind of like for me, it was like a very spark-like attraction. It was really fun. And we dated for 6 months. And then I proposed. And then we got married
7 months later.
7 months later. And here we are now.
Isn't that wild to think about those stories? Like now you guys
It's
are sitting
so
across the table
insane,
from each
yeah.
other
It's so
talking about
insane.
marriage.
Well, it's just
Yeah.
weird. It's just weird, and like maybe we could. That was a long story, and I apologize for the listeners, but hopefully it was somewhat endearing, and you have pity on my soul.
I thought it was a great story.
Thank you, Kevin. But when I think about legacy, Brad said this on the podcast last week. He said, "Don't be afraid to ask the prettiest girl in the room to dance." And if there's one thing I don't regret, is going for it, because I could have been. Not even like a coward. I wouldn't even say that, but I for sure could have passed on you, and I could have said it'll never happen, and yeah, I'm sure she's not that interesting or whatever. But I didn't do that, and I went after it. So it's like, for anybody listening, and there's that thing, and you're just a little bit scared to do it, just try. You know, you never know what can happen, and you know, I made a good choice. Boom. Hashtag final vibe.
Hashtag final vibe.
You did. This was fantastic. I love that story. It leads into my next question. Jacqueline and I have been married for 5 years. We've known each other for our entire lives.
Yeah.
So when we talk about legacy as a couple, I think it's different because we've approached life together for quite some time. You guys are a little different in the sense that you haven't been together for that long.
Yeah.
How have your individual legacies changed now that you're together?
It's a good question. You want me to start?
Sure.
I tend to be a very selfish person, and I didn't get married until I was 28. So that's like it's a decent amount of time lived post college where it's just kind of you doing you, and that's totally fine. And, you know, I wouldn't have had it any other way, but the temptation when you live by yourself and for yourself for a long time is to just kind of settle into that you mentality, and you prioritize yourself above everything. And so like when I decided to even ask her on a date, I wanted to make sure that I was ready to give up the Andrew show and jump into the Andrew and somebody else show, knowing that it was going to be a life of selflessness and sacrifice. And I was banking on legacy from day one, because I'm a pretty thoughtful person. Like I don't do a lot of things casually, and I'm pretty calculated. So I've been excited to craft a legacy with you since we got married, really. It hasn't really changed since then, because I knew what I was getting myself into when I committed. So that's my short answer.
Yeah. For me, before we started dating, I told all of my friends that I probably wouldn't get married until I was like 28 or something. So my timeline was way different. And then I met Andrew and everything changed. For me, I don't know if this is kind of weird to talk about, but I've always been the person that would be really invested in relationships. And I never just dated just to date. Like I was in it for the long haul normally. And I was always the dumpy. So that sounds really depressing. But
well, you were loyal.
Yeah. Andrew says that's your favorite quality.
I mean, I think
me.
it's one of your finer qualities as a person. Yeah,
Yeah.
Is you're deeply loyal to the people you're close to.
I don't know that I've actually had a legacy shift, because I've always kind of pictured marriage, a family, and prioritizing family. Family has always been really, really important to me, and it's been kind of instilled in me since I was a little girl. And so I think when I think about legacy, I think about family. And now there's just you added on to that, whereas it was just kind of like a blank picture before I got married of who was going to be in it with me.
In terms of like specific things like I think about with our legacy, and I think we share this, and maybe we should talk about it more often, but I know that in this order, this is what I want from my life. I want to be a really, really good husband to you, because if I'm not that, then literally everything else I do is crap. And I would never be proud of that as a man. You know, even if Final Vibe becomes the coolest thing ever and we rival Nike and Lululemon and Adidas and everybody else, and I've neglected my duties to be a loving husband, it means nothing. And that's no legacy that I want to be a part of. Same with Ivory, same with anything. And then beyond that, I look forward to being a dad someday. I want to be a dad. It's nothing that I'm in a huge rush to do, and I'm going to be the old dad because I'm 30. But that's why I try to take care of my body, right? Leave a legacy of being the active dad who, you know, could outrun his kids until they were 20. You know what I mean? I want to be that guy, and I want to be present, and, you know, who knows how many kids we'll have, or if we'll have kids or whatever, but I just want to be that guy. And that's why, like, now, Kevin, you probably relate to this, when it's just us and the wives, we want to maximize what we can do, set ourselves up for success in the future, because someday it won't be all about us. It'll be about the other people in the family. Of course, I would love for things to, everybody wants success, right? We chase excellence, but family's got to come first.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page with what our white family legacy would be.
Okay, one more question. This one comes from Jacqueline. She was tipped off that you were going to be on the podcast because she's upstairs.
Oh, shoot, that makes a lot of sense.
She said, Andrew mentioned in the podcast that she was featured in that he believes in marriage for his own reasons, and she would love to hear you expand on that.
Oh, cheers. Yeah. Oh, so this is cool, right? So, Kevin, you and I do a podcast, and we speak to a lot of people with different worldviews and a lot of different systems of beliefs and whatnot. So, but I was really explicit when we launched Final Vibes the day of that we kicked it off. I wrote a blog, and I was just really straight up about my biblical roots and you know, my Christian lifestyle, being a follower of Jesus, and sort of putting my nickel in terms of what I believe to be true about the world on the Bible. And maybe that's controversial, and we'll lose every listener we've ever had because I'm not more ambiguous and mysterious with my beliefs. But I believe that marriage was created by God, and that's spicy to say probably in 2020, but that's what I believe. And I believe that all of the meaning that stems from marriage is a meaning that stems from making deep covenant relationship with somebody that lasts a lifetime. So I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it because I believe in a bigger story. If I didn't believe in any sort of meaning in this world, I wouldn't be married. I truly wouldn't. And I've told Alexa that, you know that. I wouldn't be married. I'd be living a selfish lifestyle for myself forever, because what's the point? So, but that's not me, right? So that's what I meant when I said I believe in it for my own reasons. I just want to be quick not to force those beliefs down people's throats, because I know that you and I, this isn't a Christian podcast. This is a podcast, and we're going to have people that don't believe that. And we have people that don't believe that. And we've had guests that share different views about what means something and what doesn't. And that's cool. I'm here for that. And I'm here to respect everybody. To answer Jacqueline's question, that's what I was poking at there.
Fantastically said. You guys have both been extremely, as you've said, transparent during this episode. And I think this has been really special.
Can we hammer my wife with some funny questions?
Yeah. I was just about to say we should do that.
We should do that, but we haven't asked her the big question. So I'm going to ask you. Lex.
Yes.
What do you want your legacy to be when it's all over? When you and I are wrinkly and I either have gray hair or no hair, and I'm probably shrinking because gravity and osteoporosis and all that. Like when it's all over and all the vanity's gone, what's it all about?
Yeah. Well, I've obviously had time to think about this question, and I still don't know that I have the perfect answer, because I think legacy is nuanced and it's going to continue to shift the more that I challenge myself. But I think right now my answer would be I didn't give up on my passions. I loved the people in my life well. I didn't put myself first, and I prioritized family. I think if I were to pass on soon, I would want people to say those things about me, I guess.
Let's lighten things up. Kevin, let's just throw a cute couple fun questions. I'll tee you up for an outro that only you can do. And
that's what you keep saying.
I mean, it is what it is, and people like the routine of it. A little playful banter at the end of every episode. Lex, I have a question. If you could have like a lunch date with anybody, but they have to be alive. I don't like this whole like past or present.
Exactly.
Oh, George Washington, ask him about come on, get out of here. It's dumb. Somebody who's alive, breathing with a pulse. Who are you going to get lunch with? Where are you going? What are you ordering?
Specifically lunch.
That's
so they can't be a super busy person then? Or?
It's an interesting meal to do.
Let's say their schedules are irrelevant to the hypothetical situation. Let's say they're free for you. You can slide you into the block schedule.
But not dinner.
This is really hard. Because I don't, maybe this is dumb, but I don't like idolize people very much. And so.
That's cool. I don't either, but I mean, there are people I'd love to just chat with.
I know. But like, I think for you would probably be someone in the fitness industry or someone that you admire and respect in terms of their knowledge on something you're passionate about.
Maybe.
No? Who are you thinking?
Well, no, that's not how this question works. You were the one who got asked the question. You're the
podcast.
guest on the podcast, and we run the show.
So you don't have an answer. This is a hard question.
No, okay. I do have an answer, but I mean, I would like you to answer first.
Okay. I don't know why, but Taylor Swift comes to mind.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, why? Tell us why.
I admire her. I think she's a hard worker. I think that even though she's very successful, I think she's dealt with adversity and she's picked herself up time and time again. And I like watching her stuff on Netflix, like I guess the documentary type things that she's done. I think she's very human for how much power and fame she has. So, yeah, I think she'd be interesting to talk to if she'd give me the time of day.
That Netflix documentary was, I think, fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I went into that enjoying her music, whatever, did never seek it out. I assumed she was handed these prepackaged, ready to go songs that people would get stuck in their heads. And then you watch that documentary and it's like, no, like she comes up with the whole thing, top to bottom, like the beat, the words, the outfit she's going to wear in the video, what the video is going to look like. It was amazing.
She's hands-on. Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that the other person maybe, and this is just because he's a popular choreographer in the light of Hollywood, I guess, Kenny Ortega. I just recently watched again This Is It, that Michael Jackson kind of tribute to him after he died. He was preparing for a tour. But Kenny Ortega was the choreographer behind that and the director for that tour. And he's done a lot of things. He was also the director for High School Musical, fun fact. So he's worked with a lot of cool people like Zac Efron. I love Zac Efron. You know that.
He's a cool dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it'd be cool to also have lunch with him and talk about all of the people that he's worked with. And hey, maybe get me an in, you know?
Yeah.
That's right. Foot in the
Wink,
door.
wink, nudge, nudge.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. I'll answer your question really quickly without thinking about it too hard. If I had to pick a fitness person, I love YouTube. I love Steve Cook. He's a cool guy. He's awesome. He's fun. He's like 36 and he's still killing the game. Love Steve. Good dude. He motivates me a lot on a day-to-day basis. Also, Nick Saban.
Yeah, he'd be great.
Yeah. Head football coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. They're just so good. You know what I mean? So like I'm drawn to like that excellence over years, over and over and over again, just repeatable domination. That's just awesome to me. And he's doing something right. And I would just love to just talk to him about his perspectives because I like that hardcore stuff, you know. Not everybody does, but I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, he's got a system that would be fun to pick his brain about.
Oh, it'd be so fun. Yeah, just be a lot of fun. Yeah. Kevin, give her a question.
Okay. What years were you a Golden Girl first?
2014 to 2018.
Okay. I was going to just ask I think I've asked you this outside of this podcast before. What's the most amazing home game you've ever been a part of? And I was going to try to guess it depending on the years. Are those not good years? Was 2014,
my
right?
freshman
2013
year,
was the
Especially basketball was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have super great years. I would say probably my freshman year. That's when we won the SEC East. So
Right.
my favorite home game was actually the last home game my freshman year when we beat Arkansas to win the SEC East.
I was there. Incredible game. Blackout, right? It was
Yep. Great game.
Yeah.
Fun game.
My favorite traveling game was also my freshman year. We were at the Swamp and we destroyed them.
Oh, yeah, that was a good game. Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
Yep.
I wasn't here for the Gator Chomp year. That was the year before me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Kevin and I were there.
Mm-hmm. That was
My brother just posted a video that he got. So my brother was on the video team at Mizzou. And so he was on the field videotaping that game when everyone started doing the Gator Chomp.
Oh, wow.
He
I
just
probably
posted that.
retweeted his video then
Probably.
from that day. That game, a lot of people forget this, started at 11 a.m. So when people complain about there's 11 a.m. is too early, there's no energy. No.
Not true.
It
There can be.
that.
Yeah,
Those
there
stands
can
were
be.
packed. Yeah.
Yeah.
There can be.
There can be. How much protein do you eat every day?
I try to eat more than 90 grams of protein a day.
Dang.
I try.
That's
Pretty
great.
good for a tiny chick.
90's
Thank you.
great.
It's almost like you're married to a guy who talks about protein all the time.
Yeah, protein's important.
I wouldn't let you get away with that. Last one, and then we can send all these fine people into their Tuesday. What is your biggest fear?
Snakes.
Yeah.
That's a
I
yeah.
hate them so much.
Yeah.
I don't trust them.
What's up with that? Why does everyone hate snakes? Because I don't hate them.
You don't?
I don't hate them. I mean, I think they're weird, and like, don't get me wrong. Like, if one showed up in my bedroom, I'd be like, "Hey,
Would you?
what are we doing here?"
What would the actual reaction be?
I mean, like, you know me. I'm not gonna freak out. Like, that's not my personality. I would be
mean,
like,
would you cuss at it?
Well, here's
you
the
cuss
thing.
at spiders.
Well, here's the thing. But I wouldn't treat it any differently. Honestly, I'd probably be more disturbed if like I found like a raccoon in my house. Honestly,
I don't know, man. Snakes.
because
are-
like,
I feel like
I
every
get it. I'm just
animal on
asking. What's it about snakes that we don't like?
I don't like that they don't have legs.
Yeah.
They just slither on their bodies, but yet they can still like
Isn't the-
stand up.
You know when you show a cucumber to a cat, they freak out. Isn't that
Yeah.
the thing? Isn't that because of the snake? Like it reminds them of a snake. Maybe I made that up, but I feel like every animal has this instinct that like snakes are no good,
I don't
and
know.
it's weird because we
I
do
think
too.
there's a reason Satan uses them in the Bible.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing.
I've ran over a couple on accident on the trail on my bike, and it's always terrifying. Like you try to, I can't lift my feet up because they're clipped into the pedals. So you just in your mind, you picture them grabbing onto your ankle and coming along with you.
Oh,
but
so when we were in
that doesn't
Colorado, I kept seeing signs for rattlesnakes. Rattlesnakes may be present. And the first time we took our bikes out, I literally had that fear. And I'll be honest, I'm not a strong bike rider, especially, I mean, we weren't in mountains, but there were more hills and stuff than what like the MKT trail would have here for sure. And the brush and stuff was right off the trail. I was like, this looks like the perfect place for a snake to hang out. And there are signs. So I was very scared.
Did we see any?
We did not.
Nope, we made it out alive.
We did.
Hey,
So that's
you
good.
to tell the story.
But
That's
I
good.
was still
You
very
survived the
frightened.
rattlesnakes.
Well, babe, thanks for being on the show. We've enjoyed it. Thank you for talking to us about dance, about legacy, about your grandmother, family, the importance of family, marriage, and everything else. You've been a treat. My
Thanks.
favorite guest so far.
Oh, you have to say that.
Kevin, do you want to send us out of here with an outro? Do you want to do the outro thing? Is there a chance that you want to do that?
I do. I just took a huge inhale to get started with it.
Absolutely.
All right, don't forget, folks, if you are looking to change your life and focus more on your own legacy, a Final Vibe membership provides you with immediate access to a community of people doing just that, as well as other exclusive content. Today's episode was produced by co-host Andrew White. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to future episodes and tell your friends about us. We appreciate all of the support that we've received so far, and we hope to see you online. Check us out on Instagram at Final Vibe. I feel like our Instagram is the place to be. Give us a follow. Check out our website, finalvibe.com. We got some cool stuff coming to the shop and a whole lot of fun things coming out over the next month or so. Enjoy the rest of your week. We will be back here next Tuesday for another episode. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have an amazing Tuesday. We'll see you next time.